안녕하십니까. 부산광역부산 이정수입니다. 부산은 2020년 1월 정부로부터 대한민국 제1호 국회도시. 알겠습니다. 접근하는 것도. 예. 예. 안녕하십니까. 부산은 2020년 1월 정부로부터 대한민국 제1호 국제관광도시로 선정되었습니다. 국제관광도시 선정은 부산이 한국 관광의 미래를 책임지는 국가 전략 산업의 핵심으로 인정되었다는 의미가 있습니다. 선정 이후 2년 반 시간이 지났지만 안녕하십니까. 예.
So it's just got this. This one? But it's okay if I put this here or not? Oh yeah, but I don't need this. I need especially my Korean. That's just my script so that I don't run away with. It's either here. And this is not clear. Okay, this is fine. I just stand a bit. It's just so that in case it's fine. Just in case. Not that I need it, but okay, I have to make sure I fast enough. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
네, 여러분 잠시 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 3시부터 2022 부산
May I have your attention, please? We'll start the International Tourism City Forum starting from 3 o'clock, and I hope you will make your way into the venue and be seated.
Please, we would like to begin the 2022 Busan International Tourism City Forum shortly, so please enter the hall and also please be seated. Thank you very much. 네, 여러분 잠시 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 혹시 이곳에 계시는 분들 중 차량 6284 차주분 계시면 앞쪽으로 이동해 주십시오. 다시 한번 안내 말씀드리겠습니다. 혹시 이곳
부산. (1950년) 전쟁 속에서 피어난 문화의 꽃을 시작으로 1990년 영화도시 부산으로 성장하였습니다. 2000년 글로벌 문화 페스티벌 개최로 부산의 어울림 문화가 확산되었으며 2010년 전 세계에서 방문하고 싶은 도시로 도약하였습니다. 2020년 국제관광도시로 선정된 부산, 미래를 향한 더 큰 꿈이 생겼습니다. 단순한 관광지가 아닌 일과 휴식이 모두 가능한 살고 싶은 도시. 대한민국 성장의 새로운 모멘텀이 될 2030 부산 세계박람회 유치. 관광의 미래에 대한 새로운 상상. 당신의 응원이 부산의 큰 꿈을 이루는 데 가장 큰 힘이 됩니다. 더 나은 미래를 향한 항해. 보다 더 나은 미래를 위한 논의의 장. 지금 시작합니다.
네, 여러분 큰 박수.
Let's all give us a round of applause. Thank you. Welcome everyone to Busan, an international tourism city known for movies, festivals, and freedom of travel. And I'd like to send my greetings to those joining us online as well as the participants on site. Thank you everyone and welcome everyone to today's forum. And my name is Seung-hee Lee, host of today's event. Thank you very much again for your time today. And today's forum, as I said, is being broadcast live through YouTube. And greetings again to those joining us through online. And thank you all for your support for Busan to grow into an international tourism city. Before we start the session, let me begin with the housekeeping notes. So please do not take off your mask during the session. And please follow the quarantine and safety instructions. And simultaneous interpretation is being provided. If you need any translation service, tune the receiver to channel 1 for Korean and channel 2 for English. And please turn your mobile phone and other electronic devices into silent mode or vibration mode. Thank you.
We would like to provide a simultaneous interpretation service. So if you need any translation service, please select your language of choice on your table with the receiver, a channel 1 for Korean and a channel 2 for English. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation. 네, 그럼 본격적으로
So let us begin the first 2022 Busan International Tourism City Forum. And we are inaugurating this forum this year, and it is being held under the future of Busan as an international tourism city. And it's to provide a platform for discussion on value and direction of future development of the city. And starting from the seminar today, you will be meeting with the opening ceremony and the keynote speeches. And I hope you'll find today's forum insightful and fun. And we also look forward to your continued support for Busan to grow into a true international tourism city. So we will invite Mr. Lee Jun-seung, the head of Digital Economy and Innovation of Busan Metropolitan City, for opening today's forum.
예, 안녕하십니까. 부산시
Thank you very much for the introduction. I am Hee-seung Lee, the head of the Digital Economy and Innovation of Busan Metropolitan City. And as you all know, the place that we're gathering here has been hosting the APEC summit meeting since 2005. And it was the very first place where all the summits, the head of the countries, gathered together for the very first time. And this makes it more meaningful. And the opening ceremony is scheduled at 5 p.m. And we are here for the seminars before the opening ceremony. And I thank you again for your cooperation, for getting together earlier. And since we're inaugurating this forum, you know how important and meaningful this forum should be. So we're selected as an international tourism city in 2020, but due to the COVID situation, everything had to stop. Everything in the tourism industry, anything that's related to the tourism. So we had to let go this beautiful opportunity that was given to us like a present. And we had to think a lot for ways to grow ourselves into a true international tourism city in the future. So Busan is blessed with 7 beaches and bridges and mountains that go well together with the urban environment. And that is a blessing for any city aiming to be a good international tourism city. And the total population is 3.4, and if you consider Ulsan and Gyeongsang area, it reaches 8 million. So Busan has everything that can grow itself into a tourism city. And we have Ms. Angeline Tang here from Singapore, and Mr. Lee Jung-shil from Busan. Thank you for your hard work and commitment. And of course, we're talking about unique values of Busan, but I know there are a lot more contributed by Ulsan and Gyeongsang province. So we can work together. So Busan should be born again into a platform that can embrace the contribution from those areas. So I myself will work hard to make it happen, and we will keep talking about this in the discussion later. But I hope today's forum will contribute to the hosting of 2030 Expo here in Busan. An expo does have a very significant meaning for any aspect, including the tourism of Busan. So I will continue working hard, and I hope you will do the same. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opening remarks from Mr. Lee Jun-seung, the head of the Digital Economy and Innovation Department of Busan Metropolitan City. Thank you very much for your insightful remarks. So as he said, the first of everything is meaningful in every way. So this is a great opportunity for Busan to grow into a tourism city in the world. And I know this will be possible due to the contribution of many people. So let us start the topic speech. We have 2 presenters. The first one is
Angeline Tang.
Director Angeline Tang, Area Director of Singapore Tourism Board. The title of presentation is Reimagining the Future of Travel, the Singapore Story. She is here with us. Please give her a big round of applause.
네, 안녕하세요, 여러분.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very delighted to be here at the Busan International Tourism City Forum. And this is the 50th anniversary of Tourism Sciences Society of Korea. And I am very honored to stand here as a speaker of the conference. I am from Singapore Tourism Board, and I am Angeline Tang, Area Director. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you once again to Busan Metropolitan City, Tourism Sciences Society of Korea, TOSOK, and Busan Tourism Association for inviting me to speak at the Busan International Tourism City Forum. I'm Angeline Tang, Area Director of Korea at the Singapore Tourism Board. I'm honored to be here today to also celebrate TOSOK's Busan International Tourism Conference's 50th anniversary. The COVID-19 pandemic has been tough on world tourism. Tourist arrivals plunged as mandatory lockdowns and border closures halted travel. Destinations suffered, and amid these challenges, countries and cities saw opportunities to rebuild tourism and redefine the future of travel. Now, Singapore surged ahead on a journey to reimagine travel in a COVID-19 world. The Singapore Tourism Board moved quickly and efficiently, working closely with relevant government agencies and tourism partners to roll out measures to help tourism and hospitality businesses and to plan for a gradual but steady comeback. On this slide, you see in 2020, our Singapore Clean, or SG Clean campaign, which is a government effort to get businesses and the public to uphold good sanitation standards and hygiene practices, was also extended to the tourism sector. Hotels, service apartments, tourist attractions, conference venues, cruise terminals, hawker centers, coffee shops, and other tourism-related premises were also participating in this multi-agency campaign to receive the SG Clean quality mark. Now, many of our support measures focus on saving jobs and reducing costs for businesses. Our efforts in job matching and skills upgrading helped tourism business retain manpower and capabilities to prepare them for the future of travel or the return of travel. So we work with tourism entities to help them to adopt technology, improve productivity, and reduce labor-intensive work through more wide-scale digitalization. In September 2021, Singapore started to reopen her borders through the vaccinated travel lanes, as we call VTL, where fully vaccinated individuals could travel between VTL countries without quarantine. In October 2021, this was extended to South Korea, and we opened the lane for travel on 15th November 2021. And earlier this year, in April 2022, Singapore took a significant step forward for the tourism sector and completely replaced the VTL, the vaccinated travel lane, with the vaccinated travel framework. So there are no more daily quotas, no more entry or approvers, no testing requirements, no quarantine, and no more compulsory travel insurance required for all fully vaccinated travelers and children aged 12 and below to enter Singapore. So it only takes 3 simple steps to travel to Singapore. Proof of vaccination, booking your flights, and 3 days before departure to submit an AG arrival card through Singapore's immigration website, which is now available in the Korean language as well. We want to tell the world that Singapore is fully reopening our borders and to reconnect travel flows, to support international travel recovery, and to re-establish Singapore's status as a vibrant regional hub. So our safety measurement measures have also been eased. Whoops. No more group size or capacity limit in social gatherings, in malls or at attractions and for events. Masks are only required for indoor settings, and nightlife and buffet lines are also back again. And in order to strengthen our tourism recovery efforts, we expanded our Singapore Reimagine International Recovery Campaign to gather local and international communities together to reset and revive tourism, to build anticipation for travel to Singapore. So the next one will show you a little video.
You think you know Singapore? It's time to reimagine.
You think it's all skyscrapers?
Then what's this?
And this.
And this!
You think it is one island? Then what's this?
And this!
You think we're a city that never stops?
Then what's this?
And this.
Singapore! You think it's a country?
A city?
An island?
Think again. It's so much more!
So as travel resumes progressively, our Singapore Reimagine campaign aims to relight up the passion to travel through our reimagined and renewed experiences while ensuring safe travel for all our visitors. There are 4 pillars under this Singapore Reimagined campaign. Sustainability, where we focus on Singapore as a city in nature, with sustainable offerings across attractions, accommodations, retail, dining, and tours. Wellness, where we highlight Singapore's urban wellness efforts with experiences to allow travelers to relax, recharge, and rejuvenate in Singapore. The third pillar we have, dining, where we will redefine dining experiences. And lastly, novelty and excitement, where we are beyond skyscrapers, but also showcase experiences that drive excitement. We believe that sustainable and wellness tourism are 2 key trends that would reshape the future of our sector. For Singapore, our vision is to become known as a city in nature, where we create a holistic visitor experience that is fun and sustainable across all touch points. Many of our attractions and hotels already have sustainability at heart. Marina Bay Sands, Resorts World Sentosa, Gardens by the Bay, the Park Royal in Pickering, Oasia Hotel downtown, where it's almost like a hotel in a garden. And coupled with our urban farms and green spaces that are woven inside our urban landscape. Now, Singapore is also reinventing to position ourselves as an urban wellness haven. A meditation masterclass at an art gallery. Pilates is on board a luxury tour ship. We want to provide wellness experiences during the traveler's stay in Singapore, whether for business or for leisure. It is also to build on our identity as a city in nature. The Singapore Reimagined campaign is also about redefining dining experiences. Here, you have a multi-sensory and immersive aqua gastronomy experience in an exclusive, intimate, and futuristic dining space, with prime views of sea creatures over a meal of sustainably sourced seafood, an extraordinary combination of lighting effects, music, cuisine, and underwater entertainment that captivate all the 5 senses. This next slide is yet another immersive and magical experience with 3D projection as we combine the best of theater and dining. Using the 3D projection mapping technology, a chef comes to life virtually for an animated artistic performance projected right on the dining table as you indulge in an exquisite menu. More than a city with a storied past, Singapore is a metropolis of the future, with novel experiences and marvels of modernity awaiting travelers, both returning and new. So here, the tropical montane orchidum stimulates the experience of moving through a tropical montane forest and showcases a diversity of orchids and other plants, while the Museum of Ice Cream is not your ordinary museum. It's a first outside of the USA. The space comprises multisensory and interactive installations to inspire the imagination. Of course, and along with it, your taste buds also get to savor some of the unlimited sweet treats too. Our Singapore Reimagined campaign speaks of the NUUT, nut, new, undiscovered, unexpected, and transformed. And this is what it is here. First of all, Haw Villa is a park that is dedicated to exploring hell, the afterlife, and mythology. And it is only one of its kind in Singapore. But what's unique? Here, it's the shipping container hotels, which are decorated with the nature print theme, or nature theme print. Minimalistic in design, they have almost all that a traveler needs for a good night's stay in a private, yet unique getaway that is surrounded by nature. And in Singapore, it never really snows. And we do not need to look at the weather forecast to know that some days are just way too hot. But we do have a snow city, although it doesn't snow in Singapore. And now, an ice hotel gallery too. Everything here is made out of ice, from the dining room to the bar to the throne. Despite its name,
it is not actually a hotel for an overnight stay, but travelers can certainly spend a day in there to get away from the tropical heat. We will continue to refresh our pipeline of events. To maintain our position as an international hub, Singapore is ready to host world-class events again. At least 66 international events have been secured for the rest of 2022, and some all the way to 2028. The robust lineup of events demonstrates the industry's confidence in Singapore, our vibrant business culture, excellent infrastructure, stable government, and a stellar track record in delivering high-quality events. And on top of MICE events, leisure events also play an important part in shaping Singapore as a vibrant city with a sense of fun for business and leisure travelers alike. With a new 7-year deal, the Formula One Singapore Grand Prix will return this year after a 2-year break. In addition, we also want to make F1 Singapore one of the most environmentally friendly or sustainable street circuits. So we are working with the organizers on the development of green initiatives, which we will roll out for the next 6 races, starting from next year all the way to 2028. So now in Korea, I come from the Singapore Tourism Board office based in Korea. In Korea, we embarked on various activities and initiatives to raise destination awareness among South Koreans, encouraging them to reimagine their future travel to Singapore. Among them are our partnerships with the Ping Fong Company, with Korea's #1 virtual influencer, Rosie, and South Korea's top convenience store chain, CU. Together with the Ping Fong Company, we launched a music video sung in Korean and English languages featuring Ping Fong, Baby Shark, and our tourism mascot, Merly. Ping Fong and Baby Sharks are global icons, but also, are icons not only in Korea, but also global icons. And through them, we introduced Singapore's attractions in a catchy rhythm and fun lyrics to both the young and old. And riding on this momentum, we are also working with key travel agencies on travel packages and promotions to Singapore. Just a 30-second video. The actual video, it's about 2 minutes long, and it's available on Ping Fong as well as Baby Sharks, as well as STB's or Singapore Tourism Board's YouTube channels. And we're happy to say that within, I think it was within less than a day, less than 24 hours, we garnered more than 1 million views on the English channel and close to about 30,000 plus on the Korean channel. Korea is on the forefront of metaverse development and application, and we are pleased to share that Korea's first virtual influencer, Rosie, selected Singapore for her first overseas trip. And through her followers were also able to pick a tip or two on how best to pose in front of Singapore's charming attractions, cultural landmarks, and our different architectural masterpieces when they travel to Singapore. And just 2 weeks ago, together with Korea's largest convenience store group, CU, we introduced the chili crab pizza dip and chili crab hot dog, both inspired from Singapore's popular chili crab dish. Incidentally, just before I came here, I walked into a CU store in Busan and I found a last piece of the hot dog. Yeah. So along with them is also Singapore's heritage food brand Bee Cheng Hiang, whose mini pork jerky are on sale at convenience stores for the first time. This will give you a flavor of Singapore and inspire to travel to Singapore for the authentic taste. So if you have a chance to walk into a CU store, please look out for our products. It's still available until August, end of August, yeah. The visual used in this packaging features the hawker center by Singaporean artist Lee Sin Lee, representing Singaporean food culture, The illustration is also a testament of Singaporean daily life and Singapore food that is influenced by various cultures. In addition, our hawker culture was inscripted on UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2020, a first for Singapore. So Singapore continues to pursue new possibilities in tourism offerings, harnessing technology and innovation, and curating experiences to meet the new travel demands in a COVID-19 world, building a future-ready industry for tourism recovery and beyond. Looking ahead, while international travel outlook is hopeful, Singapore remains agile and prepared to face challenges, and together with our international and local members of the industry, we will continue to push on in our transformation journey and reimagine the future possibilities of travel. And last but not least, as TOSOK Busan International Tourism Conference celebrates its 50th anniversary, I take this opportunity to also share that our Malayan, the national icon and tourism symbol of Singapore, is also 50 years old this year. So happy birthday to TOSOK on your 50th anniversary, and I wish you many more good years to come. Thank you once again for the chance to be here, and I look forward to welcoming you to Singapore. So in Korean, I will end off saying "떠나자 싱가포르로 곧 Singapore."
Let's reimagine Singapore. Let's meet again at Singapore. Thank you. Thank you for your speech. We had the first presentation so far. You have introduced our Singapore tourism initiative, which was very systematic, and you've shared the values that the Singapore is introducing in order to revitalize the tourism industry after the pandemic to become an international tourism city. That can be a very good suggestion. And we will move on to the second presentation.
Let us invite President Lee Jung-sil from the Busan Tourism Organization, who will give us presentation about the International Tourism City Busan 2022 business trend and directions. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
I am 정실 리, President of Busan Tourism Organization. 여기까지만 제가 영어로 하고 한국어로.
And I will switch to English from now on. And my presentation today is to share with you briefly business trend and directions of the 2022 for Busan to grow into an international tourism city. And I was asked to change my presentation into English version. That's what I did. And I was also thinking that since Angeline Tang spoke Korean, I myself too should speak some English. That's why I started my presentation with English. So hello again. I am Lee Jung-sil, president of the Busan Tourism Organization, and nice to meet you all. And we were selected as the #1 international tourism city in Korea by the Korean government in 2020. And this shows how government expects Busan to take up an important axis for the tourism industry to grow further. And it also shows how tourism industry is recognized as a growth engine for other industries. So it's been 2.5 years since the selection of Busan. So I'd like to share with you some of the works that we have been doing since the selection. And I assume many of you are wondering what we do, what we have been doing. So it's my delight and honor to stand here to show you our work. So my presentation topic is business trend and directions going forward. So these are the contents of my presentation. So the first part is progress of international tourism city projects, and second, overview of international tourism city projects, and next, market trends and strategies, and part 4 is detailed business plan for 2022. So first is progress. So we have a basic plan for the International Tourism City Development Project. And we're looking to 2024 for the tourism city. And the vision is Busan, Asia's #1 marine culture city, overflowing with film, festivals, and travel. This is the basic direction for our vision. And we will focus on global digital marketing and develop core contents and strengthen cooperation with relevant industries and organizations. And this chart is for you to better understand our plan. So if you look at the goals, there are 3 goals, and we focus on quantitative growth by focusing on how much money each tourist spends, or how many visit each tourist attraction. And we have 5 strategies. And there are 7 bridge landmark projects in order to develop differentiated contents and tourism commercialization for Busan Marine City, and to improve the accessibility of the city, and also forming environment that is friendly to tourists, and promote global digital marketing and develop global brands. So there are 5 strategies for branding Busan as an international tourism city. Next is the result of 2020 main projects. So 2020 was the first year for Busan to have been selected. So the first focus was Busan Tourism Data Analysis Center and other integrated tourism information system building, to which we put 10.6 billion Korean won. And this is the result of 2021 main businesses. So 2021 was the second year, and we invested 7.45 billion won for awareness increasing. And for contents, too, we put in 5.8 billion won. But at the beginning of 2021, since we skipped the feasibility study for our project, we were asked by the Ministry of Economy and Planning to do the feasibility test again. We failed to get the budget. So that raised probably many questions among many people about what we have been doing. Is there any result? Is there any progress? But since we failed to get the budget at the beginning of 2021, we'd like to see 2022 as the true first year for everything to restart. So that brings me to the overview of international tourism city projects starting from this year. And there are several core projects, as you can see from the slide, and there are also strategic projects and collaboration projects. So back to the core projects. The core project is to mainly raise awareness among the foreign tourists. So it includes the branding and marketing, digital marketing, and identification of the contents. And as you see here, there are 7 core projects. And next is strategic projects. So strategic projects is for tourists to enjoy more comfortable and convenient experience. And strategic projects include 8 detailed projects. And we are thinking of investing 26.2 billion Korean won for the strategic projects. And last one is collaboration and cooperation projects. So Busan cannot work alone. Busan has to work with other neighboring cities and regions, including Ulsan and Gyeongnam Province. We call them Bulgyeong megacity. And that's where we work with other regions. And it has 6 projects, and we're looking to put 19 billion won for the next coming several years. So we concluded the MOUs with Ulsan and Gyeongnam Province, and we held the briefing sessions for the tourism products that were developed, and we're now in the process of selecting some travel agencies who will take charge of these projects. The next one is detailed trends and strategies. And as you all know about the trends, and as was mentioned by Mr. Lee, right after the selection of Busan as the international tourism city, the COVID situation overtook us. So it's been 3 years since the catastrophe of the COVID situation. And of course, we were seeing the decrease of the confirmed cases, but since June, we have been seeing the increase of the confirmed cases again. So no one can see what is exactly going to happen in the future, but my hope is that since we've been there before, I don't think anything can totally stop us from doing anything, because we have been immune to this situation. And of course, we're concerned about the doubling of the confirmed cases, but I think we're well prepared for this. And this is the 2022 strategy for our project. And of course, the environment is not really conducive and friendly and amicable to us, but based on our vision, we will focus on 3 areas of business, including core, strategic, and collaboration and cooperation. And we will do the best we can to make sure that we are on track on this. And our first main focus is to increase awareness among the global community. And what is the first step that we should take? And that brings me to the detailed business plan for 2022. The first one is marketing and promotion. And the first part is global tourism digital marketing promotion. This is to develop content, to increase awareness, and to promote the projects. And we have budget of 1 billion Korean won, and we're planning to work with the influencers, online influencers, including the K-pop stars, to maximize the impact of the project. And for the last 6 months, we haven't been observing many tourists as we had before, but the K-pop is always working as a boost or growth engine for increasing the tourists. And this could also contribute to raising awareness of Busan city. And that's why we focus on K-pop and influencing marketing. And we're operating Visit Busan signboard, as well as running the YouTube and TikTok channel and other social networks services. And next is strengthen global networking program. And this is to maximize local marketing effects through network events for target markets. And it is to basically promote Busan as an attractive tourism city among the global community. And as I mentioned, during the last 2 years, we have been hit hard by the COVID situation, and it has been really difficult for us to hold an offline, on-site events. But we're starting to see the reopening of the airways, and we're seeing some hope of reconnecting with the global community and global audience. So that would be our next target area for the project. And next is strengthening global tourism promotion. And this is to establish and enhance Busan city image and promote Busan as an international tourism city. And our focus is both online and offline. And Korean favorite Busan was the slogan for this part of the project. So the BIs and other branding images and other characters for the project have been developed. And global BI is in the course of being developed. And we plan to see further IMC efforts. And we're also planning to produce some of the creatives and other PR contents by working with relevant organizations and agencies. Next one is overseas media's advertisement promotion. And the purpose of this project is to enhance Busan city brand by Busan Tourism BI slogan and contents. And I assume you all know this, but the BTO has been working with Hook, the dance crew, one of the most popular dance crews. And we're also working with a rapper crew who are really popular in Busan. And we've been creating this content with these two teams. And the content, one of the contents that we made, attracted 70 million hits on YouTube. And I hope that this content will increase the awareness among the global audience, and will further this by working with Korean pop stars and other Korean wave stars. So our focus is to make differentiated audio and visual contents to raise the effect of the promotion activity of Busan. So I still have 14 more minutes. So next one is specialized tourism marketing. So this is to prepare post-COVID era to raise awareness of Busan tourism for potential Chinese tourists. All of you are experts and specialists in the tourism industry, and you know how the interregional market accounted for 78% before the COVID, but I believe post-COVID we'll see the greater number of 90%, the interregional or interblock market. So we're targeting countries that are in the range of 3 hours of flight. That's our marketing focus. So we have been working on offline promotion activities and the social network service and global OTA that is really impactful in the local countries and local regions to increase the effectiveness of the promotion activities targeting Chinese countries and Southeast Asian countries. Next is foreign tourist promotion campaign. So one of the weaknesses of Busan tourism activities was that we tend to see lower numbers of tourists in April and November. That means we have a clear distinction between the off-season and peak season. So our focus should be to attract more tourists during the off-season, and we plan to do this by supporting relevant organizations. And the budget is 500 million. And the area we're looking at is transportation discount promotion by giving up to 50% discount on the airfares, and other promotional marketing is also included. And the seventh area is commercialization of coastal bridges. Well, I hope I'm not boring you, right? My presentation is not as fun as you expect from any good speaker. Sorry about that if I'm boring you. So the seventh area is commercialization of coastal bridges as tourism products. So we're trying to develop 7 marine bridges into a good tourism product. So as you all know, Busan has 7 bridges. And if you start from Dongbu Mountain, you see Gwangan, Busan Port, Namhang, Yeongdo, Ulsuk-do, Shinho, and Gahang bridges. So we will grow these bridges into tourism landmarks. And we have a completed image that can represent the 7 bridges, and also plan to develop products that are related to these bridges. And next one is alleyway tourism support business. So Busan has a really ample resources for alleyway culture, and this project is to focus on culture of alleyway. So that includes Mangmi alleyway and Jeonpo alleyway. And we also plan to select one more alleyway in Yeongdo district. And our focus should be to build a governance in the alleyway product to include more participation from the local communities. So these communities participate in the project to revitalize the economy of their local and a local district. And next one is developing night tour program and product commercialization. And people see Busan as one of the 7 cities with a beautiful night vision. And we're planning to brand Busan City as a city for night fun by extending, for example, the operating hours of the metro and developing other contents related to night fun. And we also try to identify the night tourist attractions and develop programs, fun programs. And our focus is especially to include the local communities for the revitalization of the economy. And if you are a Busan citizen, if you're a Busan resident, you know how landscape and how what you see at night around Gwangan Bridge is really beautiful, including Marine City and Bay. And Hong Kong is famous for beautiful night size globally, and probably Hong Kong could be one of the benchmark targets of Busan. So if you could see yourself how beautiful it is, the nighttime of Busan is, then you'll see what I've been talking about. And next one is promotion and invitation for global convention exhibitions. So MICE industry is really big for tourism industry, and it is also to secure the competitive edge for the tourism industry. So that's why we have been holding the briefing sections for hosting more conventions and exhibitions. And we also work with many other industries to have more activities in the MICE industry. And next one is Busan Tourism Data Lab operation. It is to contribute to the database policy establishment by research and analysis of tourist behavior. And we're planning to invest 900 million Korean won this year. And other than analysis of the trend, we're also planning to open the Kakao channel. And since Busan has many small-sized retail businesses, travel agencies, so we'll work with them by providing training services, training programs for them to increase their competitive edge. And this is the introduction of West Busan route of city tour bus. So we're thinking about opening the West Line, city tour bus West Line. So we're running 3 lines, Taejongdae, Haeundae, and we're thinking of opening OCD line, and we have different colors for each line. And we're thinking of adding 1 more line to the existing 3 lines. That is West Busan route. So it is to improve the experience of tourists. So if you come back to Busan again in fall, then you will find a new opportunity through the West Busan route to take a look at the western part of Busan. And next one is reinforcement of global competitiveness of city tour bus. So we're targeting the automation and upgrading the existing devices. So you all know how the bus network is connected throughout the country, and that is what we plan to have for the city tour bus. And we're also planning to provide multi-language service, and that's why we're working on translating our guidelines and other information into 12 languages. And next one is souvenirs. And our work is on sales promotion and marketing. And we're planning to open a pop-up store in November in Seoul to have some promotion event for Busan as a tourism city. And you can buy some souvenirs at the booth. So finally, the last one. The Southeast region's business activities. So Busan cannot work alone to truly develop itself into international tourism city, and that's why Busan is seeking to work with other regions, including Ulsan and Gyeongsang-Namdo, which is Gyeongnam Province. And by working with these 2 regions, we can secure more resources, including the potential population increase. And in April, we concluded the MOU with Ulsan and Gyeongnam Province. And in May, we went to Seoul to hold a promotion event to promote Bulgyeong megacity. And we will further our cooperation in the future, of course. So the end of the COVID situation is nowhere to be seen, but we're on the resuscitation device, so to speak. The tourism industry is barely breathing. So what we have to do is to work hard and work actively to revitalize the local tourism. Looking at the post-COVID era in the future. And we, including myself, will work hard to revitalize the economy of Busan too. And congratulations on the 50th anniversary of the Busan Tourism Organization as a closing remark. Thank you. Thank you so much, President Lee, for the second presentation. That was really insightful and informative. For Busan to truly grow into the International Tourism City Forum, there is a lot to be done by so many people. And today's forum is the very first step towards that bright future. So please give him another round of applause. And we will...
And in line with the forum, the 50th anniversary event and 92nd Tourism Sciences Association of Korea's International Conference is currently being held in Mexico. You can watch the live stream of the event on the third floor as well. Thank you for your interest and participation. We have prepared various programs until 15th of July, so please enjoy. After a brief break, let us begin the panel discussions. Please be seated and wait for a minute. Thank you.
네, 잠시 안내 말씀드리겠습니다.
Brief announcement. I will introduce you the panel speakers. So I would like to invite all the panelists on stage. Please be seated on stage.
네, 모두
I guess you are now all seated. Let's move on to the panel discussion. The panel discussion will be presided by Professor Seo Won-seok of Kyunghee University. Please give him a big round of applause. Good afternoon. Nice to meet you all. Under the theme of the future of the international tourism city, it is my great honor to moderate this session. Busan has been designated as the international tourism city, and Professor Yoon Tae-hwan and myself have been engaged in developing the basic plan for making Busan international tourism city. So we need to study about the best cases to see which city belongs to the perfect example of international tourism city. And the city that popped up in our mind was Singapore. And today we had the speaker from Singapore and shared very good insight what Singapore is doing. And the speaker introduced about how Singapore is reimagining itself. And we thought about the image of Busan. If we ask that question, all the relevant professors and experts and industry leaders might think of different aspects. And Busan, as the tourism city, has a lot to discover. But Singapore has a very organized brand image, but Singapore is prepared to reimagining itself. So I think Busan should also prepare ourselves to become a more attractive tourist destination. Moving on, President Lee introduced about detailed policies and planning to make Busan an international tourism city. Let's move on to the panel discussion. Before we begin, I would like to introduce the panelists on stage and give the microphone to each of the panelists. First, on my left is journalist Choi Soo-moon from Seoul Economic Daily. Nice to meet you. Next, we have researcher Jung Kwang-min from Korea Culture and Tourism Research Institute. And we have Professor Lee Chung-hoon from Sejong University. And lastly, we have Professor Yoon Tae-hwan from Donglei University. First of all, I'll pass my mic to Professor Yoon. As mentioned before, Professor Yoon has deep understanding on the Busan International Tourism City project, and he's making all-out efforts to make Busan into an international tourism city. It has been 2.5 years since our designation, and we are on celebrating the 3rd year of the project. I would like to ask what kind of efforts should we make to become an international tourism city. So we will hear from Professor Yoon. Nice to meet you all. I am Yoon Tae-hwan from Donglei University. I was not prepared to make the first comment on stage, but anyway, as Professor Seo mentioned, in 2020, Busan has been designated as the first international tourism city in Korea. As President Lee mentioned during his presentation, we had to go through the pandemic after being designated. So the promotional efforts or our business efforts had to face a lot of challenges. And we lost the opportunity to make it as a milestone, but although belated, as mentioned by President Lee, we have to go through feasibility tests by the Ministry of Finance and Economy, and the budget allocation should be made quickly afterwards. But due to such constraints, 1.5 years have been wasted. But during that period, we could set up a basic plan for Busan International Tourism City. But relatively quickly, we are seeing a lot of efforts that are being made by the Tourism Association and private entities. That's why we are having a good start of the plan, and I would like to thank you for your efforts. As mentioned, I was in part of the basic plan development, and I was a project manager. So whatever comments I make, I will not going to make a negative comment about our basic plan because it's like pointing fingers at myself. And I am responsible for the project. So as a committee member of Busan International Tourism City, I am fulfilling some advisory role as well. So I guess you are well aware of the achievements that we have been made as a tourism city. In order to become a genuine world-class international tourism city, there's a lot to be accomplished. That's my personal wish, and I think that will be shared by all of you. So I would like to make some suggestions in relation to that. First, there are more than 100 individual planned businesses, but we need to take a strategic approach to integrate all those projects. As you all know, there are so many projects that are being led at the same time, but all those more than 100 projects, the most important thing is to draw the big picture or big blueprint for the project. As been introduced during the presentation, we have 3 core business projects, such as core project, content project, and strategic project, and collaboration project. First was to enhance the brand awareness of Busan and to make Busan an attractive tourist destination and attract foreign tourists toward Busan. And strategic business plan was to make an accessible tourist environment and ecosystem. And the collaboration project was to collaborate and cooperate with the nearby region so that we can expand our tourist area and thereby induce travelers to neighboring cities as well. So as such, all the individual businesses and plans should be covered by the umbrella project. We need to shoot for one big goal. Most of the projects are very systematic and are on a good path, but if we look deeper, some detailed projects lose their purpose and goal, lose their direction forward, and just exist as a separate plan and fail to accomplish the bigger vision. As that's the case, I hope that all individual business projects could be integrated under a bigger goal. We need to understand the big picture first. And while leading those businesses, we need to think about all the constraints such as resources and time, but by giving counseling and advising from the experts, we will be able to achieve the initial vision that the project has. Second, the International Tourism City project should be differentiated, and we need to take this opportunity to differentiate ourselves. So this is my personal view, but from Busan perspective, I think the Busan city government is playing safe, too safe. So there is no new suggestion that are being made. So it's kind of passive in implementing new ideas. I think the opportunity ahead of us should be led more actively to accomplish our bigger vision. We are doing a lot of advising role, and there are a lot of funds required for this project. But literally, in order to materialize the vision or the opportunities ahead of us, we need to play more active. And there will be a lot of projects that will be replaced by the existing ones. We wanted to make a fountain at the stairs of a certain alley of Busan and integrate the river cruise project with the water fountain. But it was difficult to maintain because the repair and maintenance cost was too high because it's a seawater. So we eliminated the project and replaced it to making street lights alongside the road. In order to become a world-class tourism city, we need to think about new ideas, creative ideas. If we follow the path of the pre-existing ideas, then Busan will just fall as the second follower city. If we make new attempts, there will be some opposition and there will be some challenges, but by overcoming those challenges, we will be finally able to become number one. And I hope Busan could take an opportunity of being designated and differentiate the city itself and take a more aggressive and active stance. We are having the Busan International Tourism Forum, and this is my suggestion for the forum. Thank you. Professor Yoon mentioned about 2 points. First was that to have the bigger umbrella project for the 100 or more individual projects. As mentioned, core project, content project, and strategic project and collaboration projects are the 3 big umbrellas. So we need to take a strategic approach in making Busan into an international tourism city. So we need to set up a priority for the project. And second, Busan need to take the opportunity and differentiate itself was the second suggestion made by Professor Yoon. And there will be some other cities being selected as international tourism city, including Incheon and other, and they're making their own efforts to be designated. If so, all the businesses that we are leading should be different from others. So we need to differentiate ourselves, and in going forward, we need to differentiate ourselves comparing to other global tourist attraction cities. Thank you for your comments. And in order to achieve that, academic circle and professors will give us a lot of advice, and we need to make concerted efforts together with the private industry as well. Next, we have Chung-Hoon Lee, professor of Sejong University.
방금 소개받은 세종대학교 이충훈입니다.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and I am very honored to be here as a discussant at this meaningful forum. And I'd like to briefly touch upon the concept of a city. So we talk about population, production and consumption, and other assets, including the finance and economic activities. That's what happens in the city. And strategic value of a city has been increasing since the modern age. And along with Seoul, Busan is one of the leading cities of Korea, not just in terms of the size. And Busan has gone through significant growth and has been nurturing itself into a global tourism city with a great potential. And despite all this significant growth, Busan has to work harder to further grow in the future. And in that sense, I think it's time for us to think about the competitiveness of urban competitiveness of Busan, and we have to have a long-term perspective. And that's where we have to start. And first of all, for the urban competitiveness, I think different people can talk about different concepts and different elements. But I think in terms of capacity or ability of a city, the tourism involves many stakeholders, and tourism industry requires conducive and friendly environment to be successful. And it also has to have a lot of experience. And there are many indexes for urban competitiveness, and we used to talk about the national competitiveness and the indexes published by the WEF or the IMF. So people in the past talked a lot about the national competitiveness, but now we focus on urban competitiveness, city competitiveness. So if the city can have bigger competitiveness, then they can work as a growth engine for the total of national economy. And the smart city index and other indexes are being published by different organizations and different standards. And I think mostly we tend to think about economic basis for the higher index for the urban competitiveness, with better living quality of residents and how the residents and communities are enjoying the development of the technologies, including the IT. So that is the standard probably for the highly competitive city. And in that regard, Busan has an ability to be marked as a leading competitive city. But according to the IMD Smart City Index, out of all the 198 cities in the world, Busan was ranked at 37. And it shows how smart technologies are being developed and operated in Busan that contributes to the betterment of the quality of living in Busan. And it's hard to find other cities, other Korean cities within the ranks, top ranks. So it shows how Busan has been growing into a genuine international tourism city so far. So it's on the right track. So going forward, Busan has to work harder to increase their competitiveness, and not just in terms of these indexes and standards and ranks, but we have to look further into the cities that are highly ranked in such indexes to benchmark their successful cases and best practices. And we have to, of course, work hard to harmonize those successful stories that fit the situation of Korea. And we have to try harder to remain in those ranks going forward. And branding the city itself is really important, because for marketing is about selling better, selling more. But branding is about making stronger impression. And of course, the two are complementary to each other. And marketing ultimately is designed to sell more, to contribute to selling more. But we have been preoccupied with the destination marketing that has been too narrow. And we have to look at other elements for branding. And one way we can do this is focusing on slogan. Because so far we have not been successful in identifying the unique slogan of Busan. Of course, we do have dynamic Busan, but I'm not really sure how this word dynamic well represents the image, the unique image of Busan in an effective way. So we have to have something that's unique, that's totally Busan. Because, for example, if you look at New York, there's certainly some impressions and words that come to your mind when you think of New York. And the same is true to other cities. So what happens here only happens here has become the direction, the core direction of branding cities around the world. So we have to identify things that are unique to Busan, something that you can't find anywhere else in the world. So that should be one of the focuses going forward. And lastly, the experience and the journey you make during your visit to Busan, it starts from the moment you set foot here, looking for the accommodation and arranging the transportation and arranging the journey. So we have to be able to support the whole process of journey making. We have to be able to provide seamless experience for the tourists. So that should be the basis for developing the direction of our projects. And in that regard, the seamless experience requires, for example, the transportation. We really need to have an upgraded, improved version of the transportation. And of course, you can find guide map, or you can visit the information office or information center. And ever since the establishment of the travel guideline published by the ministry, Central Ministry in 2015, nothing has changed. So it's sort of lagging behind the most recent trends. So we have to look at New Zealand or Iceland, where the information centers can work as the landmark themselves. And design is also important. If the information centers are not beautiful, it's really hard to attract the attention of the tourists. And the guide and the information center on the moving is also part of the plan that we are thinking of right now. So the information centers are really important because it can give the first impression for the tourists. But we haven't been able to give much attention to the information centers so far. And I believe the information center should be the first step to create a seamless travel experience. And of course, technology can help. Smart city and smart travel experience. The technology is a helper in creating seamless experience for the tourists. And that can contribute to the revitalization of the economy, which will ultimately contribute to the better quality of living of Busan residents. That's all a very essential element for Busan to grow into the international tourism city. Yeah, thank you very much for your insights. So I think that can be broken down into two parts. The first one is branding the Busan city as one of the core competitiveness. And secondly, the information center is important. And the two elements are interrelated with each other because we can't mention the competitive edge without thinking of the infrastructure and technological support. And he mentioned index, competitive index. And this index also represents how well the infrastructure is established. And governance is also important, and governance requires budgeting. So budgeting and governance and infrastructure and human resources, of course, all comprise the competitiveness elements of the index. And of course, there's an intellectual element, intellectual resources that can work to embrace all these elements into a harmonious one. So we need to have a competitive city, and competitiveness can be born out of branding and well-structured and well-organized information system. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to pass my microphone to researcher Jung Kwang-min. But please wait a second, I'll give you the chance to speak for the last time. And I would like to invite journalist Choi Soo-moon. Nice to meet you. I'm from Seoul Economic Daily. I'm journalist Choi Soo-moon. We have many academic experts, professors, and so on. And I'm a journalist. I guess you invited me to hear from an outsider perspective, although I'm not an expert in this field, so I'll like to make my own suggestion as an outsider of the field. To introduce myself, I worked at Seoul Economic Daily for the past 10 years. And I spent 3 years in China as a reporter and came back to Korea this year. During the pandemic, it was difficult to have experience abroad, but I had, so I think that's why I'm here. So I'll be brief, and I would like to suggest 3 points. It can be a heavy subject. 2 can be heavy, but 1 is a light comment. I came back to Korea this year, and I haven't had a chance to visit Busan frequently, but whenever I come to Busan, the city is aspiring to host the 2030 World Expo, but it was my first time to hear about it. I spent 3 years in China, so it was very difficult to get news about Korea. So that's why I haven't heard about the city's efforts to host the 2030 World Expo. As mentioned by others as well, there was one hurdle that came up in my mind during the promotional video. You've seen it. The first thing that crossed our mind when talking about Busan is becoming the least developed country to become an advanced country. But always the promotional videos say that Busan was a wartime refugee city, but I don't think that we need to highlight that aspect of Busan. If we think about other global examples, there are many cities that have overcome the difficulties or aftermath of the war, excluding the United States. Japan and European countries have been devastated due to war, but all those countries had to overcome the aftermath of the war. And they're not saying that they have such experience. I'm not sure why, but we always talk about becoming the advanced country out of all those difficulties after the war. Some say that the living standard of Korea at the time was equal to that of Uganda, but I don't think that narrative is unnecessary. Instead, Busan has unique characteristics. Starting from the ancient time, we were the gateway to international networking and exchange. So we need to emphasize the aspect that we were home to international exchange, starting from the ancient time. For example, in Kimhae, looking at the history, we could see that the first Indian traveler came to Kimhae, and Busan and the neighboring region was the gateway to the international travels. So we can emphasize that. And in the ancient time or during the Joseon dynasty, Japanese government officials visited Korea through Busan. So we had that rich history of international exchange. But always the promotional video talk about the aftermath of the war. So that's why I wanted to mention about that point. So I think we need to shed light on the historical or cultural heritage that we have. Busan is one of the few cities that has longest maritime exchange history. And we are the only one city that has the maritime cultural history still remain. That's the first suggestion I would like to make. And second, in relation to the first point, if you see the Busan tourist attraction, there are some paradoxes. I guess you all know this aspect, and everybody knows it. In case of Sambok Road, the villages such as Gamcheon village, Those are the two hotspots of Busan, and those villages are being actively developed. But if you see the coastal line of Busan, there are many skyscrapers. So the view from the Sanbok Road and the view from the coastal line are very different. And the landscape from Sanbok Road has been undermined due to the skyscrapers. And you've mentioned about the 7 bridges. In the past, we could see all those 7 bridges from the top of the mountain. But after the skyscrapers being established, the skyline is good, but all the cultural heritages of Busan have been destroyed because of that. All the good sceneries are destroyed. So I'm not suggesting not to build a skyscraper, but we need to maintain the existing alleyways and other cultural aspects of the downtown area. And especially, we have Sanbok Road, which is very famous in Korea. There is a collision between the cultural heritage and the newly developed skyscrapers. You need to strike balance and harmonize all those sceneries. So in order to become international tourism city and a #1 maritime cultural city, we need to harmonize all those sceneries. And lastly, this is a petty thing, but after arriving to Busan from Seoul, because I'm from Seoul Economic Daily, from Seoul, it was difficult to meet with Busan citizens there. So Busan city government and Busan tourism organization, you don't visit Seoul to do promotional activities. During the Q2 in Jeju, people visited Seoul for their promotional activities, but Busan people never came to Seoul for promotional efforts. And I asked my Busan colleague why people don't come to Seoul for that. And in fact, the tourism industry is so much concentrated in Seoul and metropolitan area, so that's the reality. But the industry need to make efforts. It's all about execution, so the central government and institutions located in Seoul play an important part that's necessary. So I hope that Busan Tourism Organization or city government or other association could visit Seoul for promotional efforts. And you need to make some official efforts to exchange with the central Seoul people. Thank you. You shared the perspective as a journalist, and you have suggested ways to promote Busan better. And you mentioned that we need to harmonize the cultural heritage we have together with the modern skyscrapers. And lastly, you've mentioned that the city lacks promotional efforts in Seoul and metropolitan area. And I hope that President Lee could take a note on this and do some promotional activity in Seoul as well. So in going forward, whenever you do a road show, please contact journalist Choi. You should invite him and then begin the road show. Lastly,
문화관광연구원의 정광민 연구원
we'll invite researcher Chung Kwang-min from the KCTI, and he has been involved in this project from the very early stage. And the reason I give him to you as the last order is for him to give the true insights on areas for improvement, so to speak, for Busan City and Busan Project. So please. Thank you very much for the introduction. I am Chung Kwang-min from the KCTI. And It's been 3 years. So it was in 2020 when this election happened. Of course, we worked hard for this election back then, and we worked with the KDI and other relevant organizations, and we've been working on this project for 3 years. We've all worked hard. I thank you all to add more growth, to add more fuel to what we have been doing. Everything had to work hard, and I really appreciate everyone's cooperation and hard work. And there are some things I see some areas for improvement. The thing is that we didn't have any experience. We hadn't had any experience in this. The branding, fam tour, marketing. Of course, that's the area we've been working in so far. But we had to think anew. We had to wear a new lens from the perspective of the city tourism, and city branding. So we needed to change the landscape and the branding image of the city. And we had no assurance that this would be successful because we didn't have much time. So the public sector's been pursuing this project, and we have to make it in 5 years. So would that be possible? That was the first question. And I also met with the structural limitation because we had to work on the basis of organization. And the third one is that we didn't have much experience in marketing the city, targeting foreigners, because previously we worked on small size projects. So the frequent questions we had was the difference between the projects targeting domestically and projects targeting internationally. So we're now in the 3rd year of the project. And we increased the resources. We have to increase the resources because of the feasibility requirements. And the total budget is 139 billion Korean won, and the state fund is 50 billion. So this is by far the biggest project. And the marketing budget is 45 billion won, and this is something new. We've never spent this much money on marketing and promotion. So since we didn't have any experience in city marketing and city promotion, we needed to have a different approach. And we had to think about the impact and some visible results or tangible results because the size is different compared to the previous road shops and other promotion events. And if you look at other cities, they have this corporation and state-funded organizations that are specialized in city branding and city promotion, but we don't have that yet. And there are 136 departments and divisions that need to be organized and adjusted. So most of the time and efforts are put into budgeting arrangements. So what we need to have is bigger framework that can manage the organizations and divisions that are in this. So by 2025, we need to lay foundation and raise awareness. And after that, starting from 2026, we can probably start working on what we will have built. So by 2025, which will be the first phase of the project implementation, we need to secure more fuels to keep this project going. And we need to have more cooperation and collaboration efforts from overseas. So that part is one of the challenges facing us. And another one is about the core projects. So there are 7 core projects, right? And as was presented by Mr. Lee from the BTO, the Seven Bridges project is probably the leading project that can create most tangible results. And the alleyway and Suyang Bay projects are important, of course, that require the budget of 6 to 7 billion won, which is large, and it's not going to be easy. And many projects will require the infrastructure aspect, including the laying the road and upgrading the transportation, for example. But important thing is for the public sector to provide impetus or driving force to implement the project. That impetus should be provided by the public sector and public organization. And since this project requires bigger budget, more money, we need to have a different approach compared to the previous projects that are smaller in size. And we're already observing some gaps between our plans and implementation. So we are tempted to take easier approaches to avoid this gap or to fill this gap. But I think we need to look back upon what we have accomplished and what we have missed. So I see there's a lot of government officials here and who will be joining later. So my call for help for the government officials and organizations is to pay attention to for example, trends and budget implementation rate, or the effectiveness of implementation of the project. So what I'm asking for the government officials and organization is that they have to be able to provide bigger direction and bigger framework that can work as an impetus for the total project. So Korea is ranked at 15 in terms of the tourism competitiveness, and is ranked at 8th in terms of the cultural assets. And of course, that includes K-pop influence. And of course, Korea has beautiful nature. And of course, Korea is not a big country, and Busan is not a big city in terms of the objective standard. But compared to the national competitiveness, what Busan has in terms of city competitiveness is big. So that's the unique asset of Busan we can utilize. And we're now looking to recover from the sufferings of the COVID situation. And Busan should work as a leading force to recover the economic impetus of the national economy. Thank you very much for your insights. Yes, Busan. I think Busan should heed to your advice. And after the seminar, I'm very much looking forward to the networking session. So Busan should be a leading city in increasing the competitiveness of the tourism industry, and also this project should contribute to the hosting of the 2030 World Expo in Busan. So thank you very much all for your insights, and now let me wrap up the discussion session. Thank you. Thank you very much. So my special thanks to the moderator and other discussants too. Thank you, and we will have a coffee break briefly, and that will be followed by the opening ceremony starting from 5 p.m. sharp. Thank you.
opening ceremony. The 2022 Busan International Tourism City Forum. For the event, I would like to extend my gratitude to all our guests. Good afternoon. I am the host of today's ceremony, MC Lee Seung-hee. Nice to meet you all. Thank you. I would like to extend my gratitude to all our guests participating in this event amid your busy schedule. Before we begin, let me give you a brief house announcement. This forum is being broadcasted on YouTube in real time. So, I extend my thanks to all our online participants. For those of you here with us, we are providing simultaneous interpretation. So if you need, you can use the receiver on your table. Channel 1 is for Korean and Channel 2 is for English.
We would like to provide a simultaneous interpretation service throughout the session. So those who need any translation service, please select your language of choice. Channel 1 will be for Korean and Channel 2 is for English. Thank you.
And this event is being broadcasted online, so for a more pleasant event, please turn your mobile phone into either vibration mode or silent mode. Thank you. We have many distinguished guests here with us, as well as a lot of participants. From now on, I will introduce you our distinguished guests. Please give them a big round of applause when they're being introduced. First, we have President Lee Hoon from Tourism Sciences Society of Korea. Thank you. And we have President Lee Tae-seop from Busan Tourism Association. Please give him a big round of applause. And another round of applause for Mayor Park Hyung-jun from Busan Metropolitan City Government. Next, we have Director General Kim Sang-wook from Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Please give him a big round of applause. Next, we have the speaker, Area Director Angeline Tang from Singapore Tourism Board. Thank you for your participation. Next, we have President Lee Jung-sil from Busan Tourism Organization. Please give him a big hand. Next, we have our keynote speaker, Professor Timothy Chung from Manchester Metropolitan University. Please give him a big another round of applause. Lastly, we have Chairman Oh Sung-geun from the Executive Committee of the Pan-Citizen Bidding Committee for the 2030 World Expo Busan. Thank you. Amid this challenging time, we have many distinguished guests here with us, but due to time constraints, please understand that I couldn't introduce everyone here. On the screen, we have the list of distinguished guests whom I couldn't introduce. Thank you for your participation amid your busy schedule. Next, let's begin the opening ceremony by inviting the speech from our distinguished speakers. First, we will have opening speech from President Lee Hoon of Toseok. Please give him a big round of applause. Thank you. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the participants to the first Busan International Tourism City Forum. Today's event is made possible thanks to Busan Metropolitan City Government and the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. And I would also like to express my gratitude to Mayor Park and co-chair Lee Tae-seop, chairman of Busan Tourism Association. My special thanks goes to our keynote speaker, Professor Timothy Chung of Manchester Metropolitan University, and Area Director Angeline Tang from Singapore Tourism Board, and President Lee Jung-sil from Busan Tourism Organization, moderator Professor Seo, and all the panelists. Especially, I am very honored to have Mr. Director General of the tourism industry at the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Busan International Tourism City Forum is an academic event where we discuss the future of tourism in Busan. And Professor Yoon is in charge of developing the basic plan for Busan International Tourism City project, and we are having the inaugural forum for the project. City has always been an attractive tourist destination. Busan, as suggested in its vision, should become a genuine tourism city where global tourists can enjoy films, festivals, and travels all year round. And it should also become a #1 maritime tourism city. This forum is held in line with the International Academic Conference hosted to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Tosok. At PEXCO right now, there are about 1,500 speakers to discuss about 250 thesis papers. Around 8,000 Tosok members are now leading 147 tourism study departments in universities across Korea and teaches tourism studies to about 33,000 students. The member of Tosok is making an earnest effort to make Busan into a international tourism city. I would like to extend my gratitude to all those who have contributed to this event, and I declare the opening of the 2022 Busan International Tourism City Forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opening remarks. And thank you for the appreciation you showed to all the participants and for mentioning the significance of this forum. Next, we'll invite the President Lee Tae-sop of Busan Tourism Association for another opening remarks. Please welcome him.
반갑습니다.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Lee Tae-sop of the Busan Tourism Association. First of all, my special thanks goes to the Mayor Park Hyung-jun of Busan and President Lee Hoon of Tourism Sciences Society of Korea and many other distinguished guests. I'm very delighted to host Busan International Tourism City Forum here in Busan as part of the 92nd Tosok International Tourism Conference in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Tourism Sciences Society of Korea. In 2020, Busan was selected as an international tourism city, given an opportunity to grow into a global tourism destination, but the COVID-19 catastrophe has stopped the tourism industry all around the world, including that of Busan, which is very unfortunate to all of us. Busan International Tourism City Forum held today is expected to restore tourism ecosystem that has suffered so far and normalize the industry in a swift manner. I also believe that the forum will help Busan make a leap forward as a true international tourism city by successfully promoting Busan as a city for 2030 Expo. In closing, I would like to thank the staff members of Tourism Sciences Society of Korea for putting together this meaningful event and wish all of you happy memories to bring with you when the forum is over. And I would also like to thank the distinguished guests who are here. And I wish all of you happy memories too. Thank you.
Thank you. That was President Lee Tae-sop from Busan Tourism Association. To make Busan an international tourism city, Mr. Lee gave us a lot of encouraging comments. And while listening to his speech, I could imagine Busan become one. Thank you for your insightful speech. Next is a congratulatory speech from Mayor Park Hyung-jun of Busan Metropolitan City Government. Nice to meet you and welcome to the International Tourism City Forum. And I would like to congratulate the first ever event of the forum. And as a mayor of Busan, I welcome you all. Busan has been designated as an international tourism city. But whenever tourists come to Korea, the first place they visit is Seoul, and next is Busan. I have big dream for Busan. I will make the city into a global hub city. And also we have a guest, Ms. Angeline Tang, Area Director for Korea from Singapore Tourism Board. Just as Singapore, we are dreaming to become an excellent tourism city. So we are making a lot of efforts for that. And while preparing this event, Lee Hoon, President of Tourism Sciences Society of Korea and President of Busan Tourism Association, and Mr. Kim from the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, I would like to thank all your efforts. And we have keynote speaker from Manchester Metropolitan University, Professor Timothy Chung. Thank you for your participation and being our keynote speaker. From the perspective of Busan, we want to make a city where people wish to live in for generations to come. So Busan should be a livable city for our citizens first, to make it even more pleasant for the foreign tourists. That's our vision for the city. We want to make the city where people can work, live, and enjoy leisure. In short, the city will become a place where work and recreation can be enjoyed at the same time. I think that's the only way we can achieve the vision as the international tourism city. The culture and tourism industry cannot be achieved by only one project. The industry, the tourism sector, and academia will have to make concerted efforts in order to create an added value for the tourism industry. As you all know, Busan has 7 beaches and 10 mountains and 2 rivers. And geopolitically, 75% of international logistics depart from Busan port. As such, Busan is rich in its natural resources. And the city has a potential to accommodate global tourists, and we have a very good conference infrastructure and tourist infrastructures. The city will be a place where all the experts from around the globe can exchange their views and ideas. So it's a MICE industry city. So all those will contribute to making Busan an international tourism city. The Busan Metropolitan City Government will grow world-class tourism content, such as Opera House and International Arts Center. Consists our plan, and global IP content cluster will be built here. We're making efforts for that. All in all these efforts will transform Busan into a city, representative Asian city, and top 10 happy city. And in it, I hope to welcome a lot of global tourists who wish to visit Busan. The 2030 World Expo will contribute to enhancing the prestige of Busan. Through hosting the World Expo 2030, Busan will be finally able to reborn ourselves as a global hub. We are making an all-out effort for that. Today, we have many tourism professors and industry leaders. I hope that you pay constant interest and support for hosting the 2030 World Expo here in Busan. Recently, we have invited BTS. One of the strengths that we have is the K-pop culture, which global audience enthusiastically support. When you have time, please type in X4 on YouTube. We have released the new content. All the famous K-pop stars endorsed hosting the World Expo in Busan, and you can see the content related to that. That's the strength of Busan. We are being endorsed by global audiences, and we are making efforts for that. And I would like to ask for all your constant interest and support. Once again, congratulations. Thank you.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you. Mayor Park gave us the congratulatory speech. I could see the affection that he has to the city. And he mentioned that he will make the Busan into a livable and global tourism city, and the city promised to make an all-out effort. Once again, thank you.
오늘 총 두 분께
We have two more congratulatory speech. To congratulate our event, we have Kim Sang-wook, Director General of Culture, Sports and Tourism Ministry. Please give him a big round of applause. Good afternoon. Nice to meet you all. I am Director General of Tourism Industry at the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Busan is a city full of films, festivals, and maritime culture. In 2020 January, the government has designated Busan as an international tourism city. I would like to extend my congratulations for the first Busan International Tourism City Forum, and I'm very delighted to meet you all here. I would like to thank all distinguished guests, including President Hun Lee of Tosok and Lee Tae-seok from Busan Tourism Association and Mayor Park Hyung-jun for preparing this event. The representative organization that represent tourism studies, Tosok, is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and I would like to thank all participants for coming here. Distinguished guests, due to the pandemic for the past 2 years, the global tourism industry has suffered tremendous difficulties. However, now we are slowly coming out of the dark tunnel, and we are preparing for a second big leap. At this point in time, I think it is very timely to host the first Busan International Tourism City Forum to discuss the way forward. I think it is very meaningful. During today's forum, you will discuss about making Busan into an international tourism city. And your suggestion made during the forum will be very helpful. All the researches and studies discussed today will cast the way forward for the Korea's tourism industry and help devise better policy. In addition, many discussions are being made to host the 2030 World Expo. The minister has recently visited Spain to get endorsement from them to support hosting the 2030 World Expo. And Spain responded that they will support our bid. Therefore, likewise, the government will make efforts to promote balanced national growth and make all our efforts to host the 2030 World Expo in Busan. Once again, I hope that this forum could be successful, and I wish you health and happiness. Thank you.
네, 대단히 고맙습니다. 문화체육관광
Thank you very much, Director General Kim Sang-wook from the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Tourism. He mentioned the need to make a leap forward for a new industry, a new era. And we'll invite the last speaker for the congratulatory remark, who sent the video, which we'll see together. Please welcome her with a round of applause. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Hwang Bo-seung-hee, National Assemblywoman of People Power Party, representing Junggu Yeongdo-gu of Busan. Thank you so much for inviting me to this meaningful event to discuss a brighter future of Busan. And my very special thanks goes to City Mayor Park Hyung-jun, President Lee-hoon of the TOSOC, and President Lee Tae-sum of the BTA, and other staff members who worked hard to put together this event. Tourism industry grows on and nurtures the basis of politics, economy, culture, art, tradition, and many other values of the locality, and is like a big fruit tree that gives and gives. Busan is blessed with beautiful ocean and nature, and boasts history, culture, and unique value only it can offer. The city is also full of various things to see, eat, and enjoy, making it fully qualified to be Korea's leading international tourism city. And today's forum is the very first step towards the promising future and to improve the brand value of the city. I would like to thank those who remain supportive for the future of tourism industry of Busan, and I wish that today's forum will turn out to be fruitful. I also hope that it contributes to hosting the 2030 World Expo in Busan. I myself will also do the best I can as a National Assemblywoman representing Junggu and Yeongdo-gu, the two districts known for tourism in Busan. In closing, I wish all of you happy and healthy days ahead. Thank you.
To make Busan, which contribute to raising the national awareness, Ms. Hwang Bo-seung-hee, National Assemblywoman, sent us a congratulatory video clip. Next, we are going to declare our support for hosting the 2030 World Expo in Busan. Mayor Park also mentioned this several times before, and the speakers also covered this point. The 2030 World Expo in Busan is, I believe, the aspirations of all related professionals in this industry. So I would like to invite President Park Sang-hyun, Vice President of TOSOC, on stage, who will read the declaration. Tourism Sciences Society of Korea actively support and encourage the hosting of the 2030 World Expo in Busan, which will boost national economy and the tourism industry. Busan has an excellent track record of successfully hosting APEC Summit Meeting, Asian Games, and World Cup. And the city is rich in tourism resources and infrastructure. Therefore, is a perfect place to host the World Expo. With that in mind, TOSOC, on behalf of Korean tourism experts and professionals across Korea, sincerely aspires to host the 2030 World Expo here in Busan.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you. Vice President introduced us about the declaration. We sincerely hope that the World Expo 2030 will be hosted in Korea. I would like to call for your active support. Let's move on to have opening ceremony. I would like to invite all our distinguished guests on stage.
네, 시장님 저희가 무대로 모시겠습니다.
First, Mayor Park, President Lee-hoon, President Lee Tae-sum, Director General Kim Sang-wook, and we have two speakers, Angeline Tang and President Lee Jung-sil. Please come up to the stage. And Professor Timothy Chung. President Lee Jung-sil, and we have Chairman Oh Sung-gun. Before we begin the ceremony, please, we are going to take a commemorative photo together.
네, 잠깐 벗으시고 촬영하시겠습니다.
Please take off your mask for the photo.
To have a photo session, please look at the camera. 네, 앞쪽 카메라 봐주시고요. 네, 저희 화이팅 한번 하면 여러분 큰 박수로 함께 축하해 주십시오. 하나, 둘, 셋, 화이팅! 네, 고맙습니다. 네, 이어서는 저희 세레머니 진행을.
Moving on, we are going to have a ceremony. There's a palm icon on the screen. Please look at the front of the camera. Look at the camera at the front. And please place your right hand on the screen. And please look at the camera. Wishing for Busan to become international tourism city full of festival, films, and travels. When I shout out number 1 international tourism city, please respond by shouting out 바로 부산. Please touch your palm icon on the screen while shouting out 바로 부산 to become number 1 international tourism city.
축하해 주시면 고맙겠습니다.
Please give them a big round of applause. Once again, commemorative photo, and please take your seat.
네, 자리로 모시겠습니다. 함께 해주신 모든 분들께 진심.
Thank you very much for the beautiful ceremony you made. And we'll move on to the next session, which is the keynote speech. We'll invite the presenter as soon as we have the stage set. Let us invite Professor Timothy Jung, who's the assist professor of the Manchester Metropolitan University. And the topic of the presentation is the role of smart tourism technologies for the future of international tourism city. And after the keynote speech, we have a very special performance you will enjoy before your dinner. So we're having the inaugural forum for Busan to grow into the international tourism city. And we've now reached the very last session of today's forum.
네, 여러분 다시 한번 큰 박수로 모시겠습니다.
So let us welcome Professor Timothy Jung for the keynote speech. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here to this meaningful event. I am professor at Manchester Metropolitan University of the UK, and it was in 1995 that I first flew to London for my study, and since then I've spent 28 years in the UK, in the British academia, and looking at Korea, I can see how Korea has grown into a really big country. I'm so proud of it, but I still see some areas for improvement, which is the source of my concern and constructive criticism, of course. And my topic today is relevant for Busan's activity in terms of smart technologies. And I'd like to think about ways forward for Busan to grow into smart city. So who am I? This is me. I'm running the AR and VR hub at the MMU, and I'm also heading the XR and Metaverse conference. And I see myself as a bridge between the UK and Korea. I'm working at various organizations contributing to technologies and smart technologies. And my special focus is the AR and VR, where I run a lot of academic societies, publish articles and papers. So for the last 7 years. I've been heading this organizations, and next year we're planning to hold an XR and Metaverse conference in Las Vegas. So AR and VR Hub has been committed to the tourism and creative industry for the last decade, and not just on theory aspect, but also the practical aspect is also our focus. So moving on, I'd like to show you the big wave of Industry 4.0, which you see on the slide, and we've just entered the Industry 4.0. And going through the second and third industry wave, we've now started to incorporate our past developments and advancements. And the new aspects include the IoT and big data and AI. So all of these technologies are working in a complex manner to change the way we live, work, and enjoy our lives. That includes tourism, of course, in a very fast and unprecedented manner. And if you look at the impact of the technology and how Busan is called the city of smart technology and smart tourism, which is more important to us in that we have to look at the city project from the perspective of making the smart city. And it's related to improving the quality of life. So it's not just about technology helping improving the quality of life, but it's also about upgrading the qualitative aspect of our life. So it touches upon the public sectors and hospitals and smart home and smart retails. And smart retail directly touches upon the life of the consumers. So different areas can utilize smart technologies to improve the quality of life. And earlier this year, we published a paper called Constructing Smart Destination Framework. And we proposed a framework, a new framework, under which we need to think about the smart tourism destination and what constitutes such concept. And we saw a similarity between Smart City and Smart City project and our project, because Smart City is about providing the infrastructure in a big picture. And this considers the element of opening the infrastructure to foreigners. And there are 4 elements, important elements under it. The first one is livability. It aims to build a place where you can live and work well. And the second part is IT. It improves the quality of life directly. And the third one is sustainability. So it's about social, cultural, economic aspect, and all these areas being integrated and developed in a healthy manner. And the last one is e-governance. E-governance is about managing the city. And of course, technology plays an important role in all of these 4 elements. We found this through our research, and we try to build a framework based upon the works of many researchers. And you can see how tourism has already been utilizing the smart technologies. So smart technology is something we've been using to upgrade our life. So IoT, IoE, big data, AI, for example, smart technology is what you see in your car, for example. So everything is being connected through smart technology. And this we can utilize for tourism too. And cryptocurrency and transaction also, and blockchain, of course, too, also utilizes the interconnectivity of smart technology by, for example, analyzing a pattern of the transaction. So I think for tourism, it can be used where you can provide timely information for the right person, right group of persons. And digital transformation is one of the hottest keywords. And it has already started with the Industry 4.0 trend. And now it is being discussed in a context of changing our life wholly. And we've seen how COVID situation has put the whole humanity in a lab, so to speak, locking down the barriers among the countries, changing the way of life. And we've never imagined this before. We also had to limit our desires to communicate, to travel. So everything has changed. So what's the definition of digital transformation? Digital transformation is the process of using digital technologies to create new or modify existing business processes, culture, and other experiences. So COVID situation has changed the lens through which we see the world. We had to change the time perception. So it has worked as a turning point, important turning point for the humanity. So tourism is all about experience. It evolves around the experiences. So the experience economy has met with strong challenges because of the COVID situation. Planes could not fly. The sky, the airway is locked. And if you compare the numbers between the post and pre-COVID, the flight operation stands at only 10% of the pre-COVID situation. And the technologists that took consideration of the utilization of the smart operation turned out to be a total failure because it failed to have a correct analysis of the possible situation. And the virtual reality or extended reality or the AI made a leap forward, of course, under the situation of the COVID, because we are physically limited, but we still have some desires to interact and communicate with one another. And AR, VR, XR was one of the tools we could use for that. So we've accumulated various experiences, unprecedented experience. And now it's time for us to turn that experience into the development of new area. That is, we need to combine the physical experience and the virtual experience we have. So it's time for extension of our experience. And that is where our desire is directed towards. So British people are taking off their masks and the lockdowns being lifted. But coming to Korea, I see how people are still wearing masks. So immersive technology also played an important role because, as I said, the tourism industry is all about experiences. So virtual experience cannot be the same as the physical experience, but immersive technology can bring that experience closer, a little bit closer to the real one. So we also see the waves of platform. Platform is the place where a lot of people and things move. So platform can create opportunity because many people are being interacted with one another. So that's why platform industries are taking control of the whole industry these days.
In the past, the PC was the main platform, and at the time, IBM and Microsoft was born. And next, when the internet got attention, Facebook was born, and that became Meta nowadays. And next platform was mobile that affected our life in a great way. And next platform is VR, AR, and MR. We are talking about the possibilities of the VR and AR in the initial stage when these platforms emerged, but nowadays people see as the metaverse as a big move. In the past, people earned money in physical reality and used that money on the virtual reality. But if you see Ready Player One, you can see that people can earn money on the virtual platform as well and use that money, virtual money, at hotels and other places in physical reality. So there was a huge change in the platforms. And many tech giants are leading this trend. For example, Facebook has rebranded themselves into Meta to take part in this change. As key players are dominating this market, many people wish to see a democratized platform trend. So the UK is making efforts to democratize the metaverse platform so in order to prevent any monopoly in this field. Late last year, many people in Korea used the term XR, but Korea pursues too fast or rapid growth. XR is a mixture of VR, AR, and MR combined with AI and big data. And I've mentioned about multi-sensory, and that's haptic data. And when that is combined with intelligent data, then it will help our lives of the people as well as education. That's the definition of XR. And plus, if you think about the economic aspects, the economic elements, we call it metaverse as an augmented digital world that is blending physical and virtual spaces. It's a concept of a whole new world. AI contributes hugely, and when there's a virtual product or services that are being traded on the metaverse, and many economic activities are taking place online. And people can use NFT, which is a very creative currency that can be traded between real people to people and avatar. That's the definition of metaverse. Korea has made a lot of efforts and attempts related to metaverse. And the country has invested 7 billion Korean won. And Next was created and has led various projects, tourism projects. Interestingly, all those were tourism projects. The Ministry of ICT has paid a lot of attention in hospital and education and so, but the tech players have focused on tourism industry. Last year, there was another project that was promoted by the Ministry of ICT, was metaverse version of Incheon International Airport. They joined hands with Naver, And as you can see AI shopping information, AR aquarium. Those are all tourism information. So there is a huge possibility to apply metaverse into the tourism industry. Whether we know it or not before, there have been a lot of development in this field. In case of Busan as well, we have Yongdusan project, pilot metaverse projects. As such, in terms of smart destinations perspective, we need to make a linkage between smart destinations and metaverse. Before we had creative economy, and that was very important concept in UK, and that moved to experience economy. And the UK has focused a lot into transforming technology, and that was dubbed as immersive technology. And for the past 5 years, the UK government has supported a lot of projects with big budget into immersive economy. And all these contributed to the birth of the metaverse economy. So far, we have made a lot of efforts, but still there are a lot to do. These are very practical things, but still a lot of technologies are still visionary. I think it is very interesting. There's the same amount of money. Let's say we can try one time at European countries, then we can use the same amount of money and do 4 or 5 times the event in Korea. So this means that we are trying a lot of attempts and making a lot of trials. So that's why we can be a home to various innovations. So that's why I'm very startled every time I come to Korea, because the economy is very consumer-oriented, and many foreign people are startled by that. And a lot of innovation is being made, but still, the countries around the globe don't know this well. So we need to make a promotional efforts, be more active in letting the world know about our innovations. Other people brag about their achievements, but Korean people are too humble about their innovations. I've mentioned about the UK cases. The Ministry of Culture and the Ministry of IT has invested 60 billion pounds on esports. They created content and they broadcasted it. And that was viewed by 100,000 viewers. That was a pilot project. And they transformed their famous drama Doctor Who into AR VR content, and they had a Shakespeare theater event show transformed into AR VR. But I think Korea is becoming a content powerhouse. Back in 30 to 40 years ago, countries didn't know about Korea, but due to Squid Game and other events, countries now think Korea is a content powerhouse. We need to have self-confidence. Looking from outside, I could see a lot of achievements made by the country, but the country is too passive in promoting those achievements. So those are the metaverse case. Whenever I give lectures to abroad, I've mentioned about the real world case. I think that's a representative test made in the tourism industry. People can make their own games on the platform. It's a little bit different from the virtual reality, but I think that's very encouraging because real world can attract real tourists to the city. In case of games and films, that is applied to real world and attract foreign tourists and enjoy the game across the city. And there's a VR fishing game. The number 1 fisher was an Alzheimer patient in the UK. This shows that the game can contribute to entertainment and health as well. And Helsinki developed a digital twin of the capital city. Many online viewers can visit Digital Helsinki. The UK has launched Overview Art platform, where many musicians can do their concerts and marketing in real time. So the physical world meets with virtual world on the Overview Arc. We are good at OTT service, such as broadcasting esports. We have that capacity. I've mentioned about the esports. In case of the UK, there is another ground for esports in Seongnam. And the UK is trying to make up that stadium, virtual esports stadium that can host around 7,000 people. Our strength lies in esports, K-pop, and content. We need to bridge all those strengths because the global audience wants to have a successful esports event. They want to have that. And we have a successful business model in terms of esports and K-pop. If we reach strategic partnership with other countries, then we can bridge all those strengths into a real achievements. We have K-culture, content, and so on. Then many youth can work in this field, and that will become a natural global project where Korea can lead. If we link those with virtual platform, then we can see a lot of opportunities. When visiting Busan, I realized that we need to take pride in the cultural heritage that we have. We are not a follower anymore. We need to have a first mover strategy. By stop following others, we need to take initiative. This is a very new concept, international tourism city. We haven't done this before, but now, moving away from following the path of the others, we need to try new attempts, take initiative, take leadership, and let the world know that they should come to Busan. We need to have that pride and that attitude. Now, global audience and global citizens have very positive image about Korea, so we need to utilize and leverage that. And at Tesco, we can find ramen and Korean food. 10 years ago, it was unimaginable, but now we are seeing those changes. AI and blockchain technology, we already have that. The business case should be lucrative in order to succeed. So in order to make money on the virtual platform, we have invented NFT and blockchain. So in order to do an international business after the pandemic, you need to think about the virtual economy as well. By leveraging technical strength and technical innovation, we can tap into that opportunities. I have divided physical world and virtual world, but all in all, we need to create a platform. Busan and Korea have launched. If we launch various virtual platforms, many tourists will visit Korea physically. Going back to the point, for the smart destination, we have 4 pillars: livability, sustainability, e-governance, and IT. I've covered this before. In order to have real achievements out of this is too conceptual, but there should be positive impacts out of this, such as resources, cultural assets, and know-how, knowledge, people. And on top of that, there are 4 pillars: technology, sustainability, governance, and livability. That's the basic framework. And there are a lot of smart stakeholders in the business field. And we need to have systems to incorporate all those economic agents. And after that, we can personalize the technology and conceptualize the technology. And these are the fields that the Korea has strength in. In personalization, we are the leader in this field. There is no country that can deliver food this well. We are pursuing innovation too fast. There is no other country in the world where the government supports the private industry this well. So we need to leverage all these cases. I've mentioned about digital transformation. And when you think about international tourism city, it's all about leveraging technology as a tool, and we need to make a city where people can live well. We need to make Busan a livable city. Once we make a good city for the citizens, then tourists will come using IoT, AI, and big data. But we need to be obsessed in technologies. We need to leverage. The end goal is to enhance the quality of life. We need to build that infrastructure and create content in order to attract foreign tourists into the city. We have that content, K content. By actively utilizing that K content, I hope that Busan could lead those trends. And you've mentioned that Busan is dreaming to become Asia #1, but I hope the city could become a world top city. If so, then we can showcase our culture, technology, and innovation because we have a good track record, and I hope that we could leverage all those achievements. While closing, one scholar in the ancient time mentioned that when you make a dress, you need a needle and a fabric. And in order to build a house, then you need roof and material. This means the importance of appropriate technology. What's important is to find an appropriate technology that will really change our life and really change travel. We need to identify those points and focus our efforts on the selected field. By doing so, we will be able to prevent the waste of any of our efforts. Tourism, when we see the Maslow's 5 desires, tourism enables us to realize our true identity. For that, we need real experiences and virtual experiences as well. If so, then we can boost the effectiveness of that. We have many best cases and best model cases. I hope Busan could be home to many more best practices. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you. So far, it was Professor Timothy Chung. After a short break, we are going to have a commemorative performance. Please be seated and enjoy networking.
who is active and popular in Busan. So he's specializing in retro jazz. Thank you for the introduction. Our band is called Rouge Negra, and we're so delighted to be part of Busan International Tourism City Forum, which is very meaningful to all of us. And the songs we prepared for this special stage is a few Korean songs that we arranged. And the first one is called 굳세어라 금순아. Be brave, 금순아. Thank you.
눈보라가 휘날리는 바람찬 흥남부두에 목을 놓아 불러보았다. 자자를 보았다. 금순아 어디로 가고 길을 잃고 헤매였더냐. 피눈물을 흘리면서 일사이고 나 홀로 왔다. 갇힌 척 없는 몸이 지금은 무엇을 하나. 이 내 몸을 국제의 시장 장사치이다. 금순아 보고 싶구나. 고향 꿈도 그리워진다. 조승달만 외로이 떴다. dum빠이dum빠이dum 빠빠dumdum땀 따릅따라빠. 절의 장막 모진 서름 바꿔서 사라를 감듯 천지간에 너와 난데 변함이 있으랴. 금순아 굳세어다오. 북진 통일 그날이 오면 손을 잡고 웃어보자. 얼싸안고 춤도 춰보자. 얼싸안고 춤도 춰보자. 얼싸안고 춤도 춰보자. 빠라라따따따따.
네, 굳세어라 금순아 연주드렸습니다. 이 곡 같은
That was 굳세어라 금순아. That was loved by Korean people for a long time, and we rearranged the song, and we could feel that the old Korean pop is really good. Second is a French chanson. This is a swing music. Is there any French attendant here? Our vocal feels difficult to pronounce French pronunciation, but we have prepared sympathique. Thank you.
Ma chambre la forme d'un cage. Le soleil passe son bas par la fenêtre. La chose là ma faut comme des sister dark et bleu me pendu. You knew boo ba toi a by end. You knew boo ba a day a journey. You boo sad among et journée, du bout servant l'oublier, et puis du pium, du chiffre, et ça, bique, boum, tuye, c'est magnifique, tes sympathies, mais tu ne le connais jamais. Non, tu ne peux pas toi avoir tu ne peux pas déjeuner. Tu peux seulement l'oublier et puis tu peux. Stop, da 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 da. Stop, da 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 da. Start up, da 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 da. Stop, da 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 da. Stop, da 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 da. Để cho track con đi đông bạc biên de la moon en million de hot mà ba cái ba chưa đăng mang lại share pale đăng mẹ trong la đi you knew bu ba toi à bài em đăng you knew bu ba à để cho nè you bu sad mong non you knew bu ba toi à bài you knew bu ba à để cho nè you bu sad mong l'oublier c'est net et puis you pium.
네, 심파티크였습니다. 네, 저희 팀 보컬 노래를 잘.
Did you like the song? And she's a good French speaker too. Let me give you Ms. Guyuna, who's a vocalist of our band. And we'll start from the right. He's a guitarist, Mr. Ansa Ko. And let me give you the drummer, Kim Bio. And
아코디언 연주하시면서
accordionist Lee Won-ju. And I am the contrabassist at the Rouge Negra. I'm Yu Kyung-hoon. And we've reached the last song of this special stage, and this song is from the 1930s. And have you heard of Capri Island? And I myself was not familiar with this song, and I came to know about this song when we prepared for this stage. And the song I'm going to give you is Capri Island. And again, thank you very much for the invitation. And our band was Rouge Negra, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
기운 카프리의 섬나라는 무성한 야자수 그 그늘에서 사랑을 속삭이던 꿈속 나라 그리운 마음의 처녀지 황급빛 노을이 고운 그곳 어여쁜 그대를 생각하면 그대는 한떨기 백합꽃인가 나의 마음은 울렁거려 그리운 마음의 고향 그대 사는 카프리 언제든지 그리워요 꿈속과 같은 카프리 지금도 내 귀를 스치는 것은 그대의 극한 그 숨소리 즐거운 카프리의 섬나라여 언제나 그립다 카프리 그리운 카프리의 섬나라는 무성한 야자수 그 그늘에서 사랑을 속삭이던 꿈속 나라 그리운 마음의 처녀지 황급빛 노을이 고운 그곳 어여쁜 그대를 생각하면 그대는 한떨기 백합꽃인가 나의 마음은 울렁거려 그리운 마음의 고향 그대 사는 카프리 언제든지 그리워요 꿈속과 같은 카프리 지금도 내 귀를 스치는 것은 그대의 극한 그 숨소리 즐거운 카프리의 섬나라여 언제나 그립다 카프리 그리운 카프리의 섬나라는 무성한 야자수 그 그늘에서 사랑을 속삭이던 꿈속 나라 그리운 마음의 처녀지 황급빛 노을이 고운 그곳 어여쁜 그대를 생각하면 그대는 한떨기 백합꽃인가 나의 마음은 울렁거려 그리운 마음의 고향 그대 사는 카프리 언제든지 그리워요 꿈속과 같은 카프리 지금도 내 카프리 언제나 그립다 카프리. 감사합니다.